Okay, so I'm recording. It is March 27th, and today we're going to be talking about creating your own at-home practice. And I know that Cheryl, you posted something online that you did this morning, and it looks like you kind of Googled something that you were interested in, and then you just did a little flow this morning, which is great. As you guys continue to go through this, I mean, yes, do flows that are online, but also I want to get you thinking about how to really customize your yoga practice for how you feel at that exact moment. So that's why I think this is pretty cool. What I'm going to do is a screen share. And this screen share is going to allow you to see a document on my screen that I created for you. This document is on the group page, also on Facebook. You just click on the Files tab, and it's called At Home Yoga Template. So I am going to start sharing the screen. First of all, before I do that, let me preface this by saying this is not so much rules. Like, I do not like to give yoga rules. I think one of the beautiful things about yoga is that it's free flow. It's free for everybody. I mean, it's free. You just do what feels right. But at the same time, I also want to give you guys guidelines, all right? So with that, I'm going to share with you some guidelines on how to do this. Screen share. Can you let me know when you can see that? Can you see it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I see.
So I broke it down into a few sections, sections 1 through 5. And we're just going to kind of go over this. And I mean, I'd love it if you have a printer to print it out and start adding stuff. But throughout the retreat, you're also going to start learning new yoga poses and adding your own stuff to it. So.
Okay, I can see it, but I can't read it. It's like really small.
Okay,
well, my phone the other way. Huh?
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably why.
Okay. So once I print it out, I'll be able to read it. I'll print it out after we get off.
Yeah, because it's on a document on that page. So yeah, it'll be just like this.
Okay.
And it's on a Word document so that you can go in there and change it and add your own stuff if you want.
Okay.
So the first thing that we're going to do when we have this at-home yoga practice, and when you go to classes, it's going to be the same way. Hey, Alexa, it's going to be the same way. You're going to first find your breath and center. And basically, the purpose is just to take you to a more focused place than where you are at that moment. So you're going to try to just sit down or lie down and start to notice your breath. Just recognize it, like Pam was talking about, in the beauty of the breath. This is the time when we call centering, is when you kind of connect the mind with the body. All right. And then you're going to kind of create this transformation. So at first you're going to just observe, and then you're going to start to transform yourself into a more focused state, more focused on yourself. You're going to start making your breaths longer and deeper, kind of like what Pam was talking about also, just controlling the breath and making it really work for you. And then I want you to focus on the exhales being longer than the inhales. And as you're doing this, I want you to think of a mantra or a single thought to come back to. And as you've noticed, this has kind of gone full circle. It's gone full circle with the single thought in meditation, the single thought of breath. And so a lot of times people will use just a single word like love or joy. And then during their yoga practice at some point, to bring them back in, if their mind starts wandering, you just say that word. I've done yoga practices where I inhale one word and exhale another. For example, I would inhale and I'd say, I do this, because you'll see tomorrow that's part of a sun salutation. I'll tell you what that means later. So I inhale grace for myself and I exhale gratitude into the world. And so that's just another way of connecting the mantra with the breath. You can do a saying. I know that a lot of people use a scripture verse, a laugh or a smell, or a touch, just something that you can focus on that brings your mind to ease. And at this time, this would be a great time if you want to kind of incorporate a 5-minute meditation, all right? And so once you're centered and you're ready to go, now you've got dynamic movement. And so all that means is to get you warmed up, all right? And it's basically, instead of holding a pose, you're going to be moving the pose. And it says one pose, well, let's move on here. And so you're basically using energetic and active movements. And I'm going to show you an example in a second. And then we're going to be talking about more examples and posting more examples in the Facebook group. But for instance, I'm not sure, can you guys see me okay? Can y'all see me, or is it just the screen share right now? I'm going to take it off the screen share so that now you guys can see me. Can y'all see me okay if I just stand up right here?
We could see both. We could see the screen share on one screen, but then when you go to all the people, then we could go and watch you too.
Can you see me okay right now though?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. So a dynamic movement like this is standing in one spot is mountain pose, right? So possibly a dynamic movement would be inhaling arms overhead, exhaling side bend. Inhale, lift, exhale, side bend. All right, inhale, lift, bend the knees, exhale, rotation. Inhale, lift, exhale, rotation. So you see how my body is just starting to move and heat up. And that is kind of the point of dynamic movements. And I plan on doing a little video of different types of dynamic movements for you guys so that you can actually start to incorporate that into your template. So I'm back on the screen share again. And you have the option to kind of fill in some of those dynamic movements. And so say that, Cheryl, for instance, say your neck was bothering you. Maybe your dynamic movement just starts with taking the head to the right and the left. And you can move up to a little bit more intense dynamic movements with holding, and again, I'll show you more of this later, holding in a high lunge, bending and straightening the knee, lifting and lowering. All right. So moving on, dynamic movements. Tomorrow's sun salutation A is what we're going to be talking about. Okay, there are a bunch of different suns or salutations, and all a salutation is, you guys, is just a pre-sequenced string of yoga poses. And the sun salutation is one that's very, very popular in class. So it really kind of gets your body heated and really just flowing like water. So, you know, at this point, you're just kind of doing this repetitive sun salutation over a couple times, maybe 2 or 3 times. And then that really gets your body heated up. Now, even sun salutations, even when I have private clients for workouts, and even when I was at the big gyms, I would take them, their warm-up would be a sun salutation. It is fantastic. It's a way to help continue to get yourself centered, but at the same time, start to really pump heat through your body. And it is definitely dynamic, but we call it a flow. It's more of a yoga flow. And that means where you're just stringing together movements and breath. All right. So for instance, and like I said, tomorrow we're going to go into it a little bit deeper, but it's an inhale, arms come overhead. Exhale, you're going to forward fold. And then you inhale, come to half lift. You exhale, step back into plank. And then you can do, go all the way down to the ground. Inhale, do a little back bend. And then exhale into downward dog. Inhale, step through. Exhale, mountain pose. And you do that a couple times. It can be very, very rhythmic. And so the next section, all right, so you're centered, you're heated up, and chances are you may have distractions if you're doing it at home, and that's okay. So you're going to try to find that quiet spot. But I want you to know, as you first do this, this is not going to flow like water. All right. This is going to be stop and look and try to figure it out. Listen to how your body feels. Oh, my body doesn't feel like doing that one today. Stop and change it. But at the same time, it's all about how you feel. And if you just want to do forward folds and half lifts and rotations the whole time, that's what you do. So you're just listening to your body and doing what your body is telling you to do. And so, like I said, ultimately, I really don't like giving this labels because, I mean, rules, because there are no rules. It's just doing it, you know, just sitting down and taking the time to do it. You may start off with a flow that's 5 minutes, and it may lead up to 15 minutes, or you may start at 15 minutes, and then before you know it, you're up to an hour. It just completely depends on what you want. So moving on to section 4. This is including 4 to 8 poses that you're going to just hold and breathe through. And I'd like for one of these to include a balance pose, just so you can start to work on stability. And so I put in here to listen how your body feels. We already talked about that. But some things to think about. In yoga, we say that you really hold your emotions in your hips, all right? And a lot of times when I do a hip opener class, not a lot of times, but I have before, it has been very emotional. And one time I was in yin and I actually had to leave the class because we were doing a hip opener and I just started crying, like uncontrollably crying. I just let go. So we do say that emotions are stored in the hips. So maybe one day if you're feeling kind of emotional, you are gonna work on some poses to open up the hips. A lot of times we store stress in our shoulders. Think about it. How many times a day we just find ourselves like pulling the ears up or just tense, just everything is tense, right? Maybe you want to do a shoulder opener or some rotations that day. This is where you would start to put all of that stuff in. I want to encourage you to play around with your poses also. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, say you're in downward dog one day, and I want you to feel how your arms are supposed to, or how they feel when the elbows are out versus in, when the legs are straight versus bent, when you're pushing away from your body with your hands as opposed to pulling towards your body with your hands. And so during your breaths, you know, you don't have to hold it real strong and sturdy. Just play around with it and see what works for you, because your body is going to respond differently on different days. And I want you to be able to know when to stop or when to go a little deeper. For example, I used Warrior 2 the other day in Yoga 101. And I kind of went through all the things that we could talk about when form is concerned. And there's probably about 40 different things just for Warrior 1. And so we're going to be talking about those things through the retreat. And so I want you to play around with that. Play around with engaging the quad and then releasing the quad. Play around with engaging the glute and then releasing the glute. Maybe shoulders cockeyed, then bring them back over. See how your core feels when you lean to the side as opposed to lift up in a pose. So definitely get to know your poses, play around with them. And from here on out, starting tomorrow, this is when we're going to start to really get into different types of poses. So you'll be able to put everything together, all right? And then the last section, I just called it section 5 for lack of a better name, is just a cool down. All right, so once you've held these 4 to 8 poses for a while, you're going to be tired and you're going to do it on your right side and your left side. And at that time, you can do 2 things. You can do something different that starts to settle the body again, or you can go back and do your section 1 or section 2, just smaller dynamic movements, cooling down a little bit. And I'm going to show you cool down movements as well. It could be something as simple as laying on your back and then just bringing one knee into the chest and then taking the knee over to the side and then back out and then other side. Right leg out long, bring the left knee in, take it across the body, and take it back out. So, you know, these poses don't have to be these crazy awesome poses. In fact, the more simple poses, the more easily we can attach that breath. And then finally, at the end of the cool down, I'm going to take it off. Stop share. At the end of the cool down is when I really want you to give yourself at least 5 minutes, if you got the time, 5 minutes of stillness. And we call this Shavasana. And Shavasana is interpreted corpse pose. You're just laying there, all right? I don't like to say corpse pose, but so Shavasana, I think, is one of the hardest poses in yoga. Because when you're there in your warrior two, you're thinking about it, right? But you're still trying to stay focused on your breath and your mantra for the class. But at the same time, you're playing around with it. But in corpse pose, or excuse me, Shavasana, that's when you're laying on your back, you're letting all your muscles go. You kind of feel like if you were laying on the beach, you're putting a nice little impression in the sand, and give yourself 5 minutes. Set it on the phone. It's basically a way for you to nourish your body after all of that movement. Give your body some time to relax and be nourished. So I always tell people in Shavasana, I don't want you to think about what happened before. I don't want you to think about what's going to happen after. I want you to think about where you are right now. Begin to drift away from the thought of your breath and just be. So much harder said than done. Like I said, I feel like it's one of the hardest poses in yoga, just because of that mental the mental stillness, I should say. So again, this was just kind of a rundown, and throughout the week, I'm going to be posting different lessons on yoga. So make sure you catch those, and we'll actually add them into your own personal template. Now, if you look at this template and you're like, okay, that's just not me. I'm fine with doing my poses, you know, how they are. I like what I'm already doing as far as my home workout. That's fine, or my home flow. That's fine. Guys, you don't have to do this. This is just a guideline. I want it to be a resource for you so that when we are done with the retreat, you are comfortable with knowing what you need that day on your mat. And then eventually not thinking about it so much, just going with the flow, just letting go and doing whatever your mind and your body tells you to do. All right. So do you guys, I know that y'all couldn't see it real well on your phones, Alexa and Cheryl, do y'all have any questions about all of that? I know it's pretty vague, but we'll get to details soon, I promise.
Okay, on the phone, I found a way. I missed the part at the first that said pinch out, and so I was able to like squeeze it out and see it all.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that until the second time you put it back up, and then I saw this little message that said squeeze out to view larger, and it did it.
It was a squeeze or
So
pinch?
I learned something.
Did you learn anything about yoga?
It's the iPhone. It's the iPhone thing of your index finger and your thumb. Just
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Thank you. I'm gonna put that on the recording link so that people know. So, I mean, Cheryl, what did you think about that as far as just kind of creating the flow for your at-home practice? Did you understand it, or was it kind of, you know, ambiguous? Because I know
I did understand. Yeah, I did understand it, and that helps me a lot because, as you well know, with my hand, I can't do everything y'all do, so I've got to find something else. And with my limited knowledge of yoga, it was like I was doing things. So it's like, can I do something that will benefit me more than just, leg stretches or something while y'all are doing the hand, supporting yourself on your hands.
You can't put any weight on your wrist, is that correct?
Right.
Can you put weight on your wrist if your wrist is not flexed? If it's like this?
No, because I can't make a fist yet. It won't make a fist, and it won't flex anyway. Yeah.
Could you grab?
So I can only sitting. I can lean to one side and put weight on my right hand. I just can't do anything on the left side yet, and probably be
Okay.
another month before I can do that.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that you're on the right path with the seated stretches for sure. And if and focus on doing your at-home practice with that stuff. Like, don't worry about the downward dogs and all that stuff right now. So today, like that video that you watched this morning, an idea might be to take what you liked most on that video and write notes on it.
Okay.
And write that down as part of your flow. And this
Okay.
and this doesn't have to be some big grand production, you guys. It really is just what's going to work for you. Alexa, go ahead, Cheryl.
No, I was just going to tell you, I think Alexa had a question too.
What's up, girl? Alexa's busy doing her yoga flow.
Well, no, I think she asked, she texted on here, it came across, what about knees and elbows?
Oh, I see the chat. Hold on. Let me get there first. Yeah. Alexa, can you talk, or are you at a place where you cannot talk? Okay, here it is. Gotcha. Okay, so her computer has no mic. Okay, what about elbows or forearms? Okay, so you're asking Cheryl about elbows and forearms, correct? I think that question was meant for you, Cheryl. So if we're in plank, can she go to her forearms?
No, because he pulled a tendon from my forearm to repair my hand, so
Right.
I can't put any weight on that arm.
Yeah, so not right now for sure, but I know, doesn't that suck, Alexa? But it's definitely an option for you in the future. But no, and Alexa, as you guys start to do your flows, and the people are watching the recording, as you start to do your flows, maybe your wrists are going to start getting a little bit tired. And you'll kind of want to start moving them around a little bit. Oh my gosh, I have a little cold today, so I'm like rubbing my nose like crazy, I know. Moving your wrist around, but know that you will build strength in your hands as it goes on in your wrist. But you always have the option to go onto your forearms. Downward dog is a little hard on the forearms just because you're really opening up the chest. But planking you can do on forearms for sure. Yeah. That's great. Anything else, you guys?
I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, keep your eye out for some lessons on form. I think that those are going to be pre-recorded. And then from there, we will just start adding to your template. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining in today. Happy Monday to you too, Alexa. All right. Bye, Cheryl. Bye, Alexa. Bye,
All right. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.